Hello, hello, and welcome to the Lion's Den. I'm your host, Lauren Lyons, and we're back finally recapping the last two episodes of Handmaiden Tales, season 6. These were some amazing episodes. I cannot wait to get into it. But first, you guys know, couple of house den rules because this is scripted television. Grab your favorite drink. Let's get into it. We got a lot to talk about on this amazing show. So sorry I'm late, y'all. Was doing my hair. As you can see, it looks wet. But yeah, we have so many things to talk about. I'm so excited. Elizabeth Moss, she is that girl. So let's get into it. Straight into it. Episode 9. We kick off where Mayday, which also included the Handmaidens and June, on their attack against Boston Gilead, and they are now running away to go across the border as they, in escape. They just did this successful attack against high leaders who came into town for Serena's wedding. So with this show, what they love to do is get your hopes up, and then it goes and crashes and burns, and that's kind of what happened in this moment. So we get them running away to Taylor Swift's song "Look What You Made Me Do," and so they're running, which is such a very on the nose song, might I add, but it works. But of course, as they're running, they are stopped and interrupted again by Gilead Guardians. I'm like, God dang. That gets me. That gets me because you be so scared because you be like, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. All these dead moments and times they be talking and stuff. I be like, get to it, because y'all know that these Guardians be quick with it. Okay. And Mayday, y'all still learning about war. Y'all not actual soldiers. Gilead is. So they be getting me with that. But so of course they get caught, and they're asking for June. No one was gonna fess up, but then they were about to shoot a handmaiden, so June decides to go, and she's taken away, and the other girls are with the commander, or with the Guardians. So when that happens, I'm reading through my notes real quick. They did decide in the truck that they were going to leave and try to hurry up, which is what I was talking about. But of course, poor, bless her heart, Janine is like, I can't leave without her daughter. And I'm like, Janine, sweetheart, because Janine has probably been through the most out of this entire series, and she has yet to catch a break. And so, of course, that's what happens. June is taken separated from them, so we don't know their fate at this point. What's going to happen to them? We then fast forward to Serena, who does go to Commander Lawrence's home and stays there for the night because she got into an argument with her new husband, Warden, Commander Warden. And because again, he showed you who he really truly was, and is, like we were talking about in the last episode, a lot worse than probably her ex-husband for sure, because Warden believes in the principles of Gilead. He's not just doing this just for the power and the money and the fame. No, he actually believes in the doctrines that Gilead perpetuates. So he's a lot more sinister. And I don't know why the girl thought he was different. Anyway, we talked about it. So she goes back, she's at her house, she wakes up. So like we saw in that episode, or in that scene where she was running away because she saw the handmaidens killing their commanders, and she ends up at Commander Lawrence's house. And so as she's there the next day, Naomi is she's talking with Naomi, which we Naomi, like she's definitely a male centered woman. They all are. Like honestly, all of the wives are male centered women, but specifically Naomi, because she does nothing, she does everything against her self interest. And the way that Serena is, it's almost like she envies Serena, but at the same time, it's scared, fearful, because I think in some way she wants to operate like Serena, but is so male centered and fearful that she won't. And that's just comparing it to Serena, who really isn't as liberal as she thinks she is. But she get on my nerves. Like she get on my nerves, and I don't like how she be also talking to Angela, the little daughter, because it's also like you begged for this child and you constantly mistreating her like so nasty. And I don't understand that. Like, didn't you want this child and you treat her like that with such resent? Like, I don't understand that. So Naomi, she's talking to Naomi. Naomi is still disapproving what everything's going on. And Serena's just looking at her like, girl, they literally killed your husband, and you're literally like their biggest advocate and won't take a step back and acknowledge that this system is not what it's supposed to be. So Naomi takes it upon herself to go ahead and call Commander Warren to come over to the house so they can make up. Because she's like, this is you just got married. What do you mean? Like, y'all should get along, work it out. So this is where so this is where he comes back. He asks for Serena's forgiveness. And then he also tells her that like June was the one who used our wedding to carry out her plan and of the attack. And so Serena had no idea. Serena was shocked. And you could see the complicate like the face, because it was like, dang girl, like you spoke for some reason Serena thinks that her and June are okay, like actually have a friendship, and felt like June would respect her a little bit more than that, which is crazy because no. So this is where he reminds Gilead, like Gilead is good and June is evil. And so this is where Serena's, I thought we were friends. Girl, you are the abuser. There's no way on earth you would ever be friends with June. Like, let's keep it for real. Serena, queen of delusions, for sure. So he reassures Serena that God's justice will be served, but this still, like, you can see Serena very concerned, because at the end of the day, I will say we are to the point where Serena does acknowledge that and know how she treated June was wrong. Like, and she carries that guilt. I think her giving birth to her son really like has made her like not change her feelings about that, because one, June did help birth her son, and she now understands how June was moving and what she does, because she has a son and she did had to do in some similar way, do the same thing. So that I think is real. I think that guilt is what keeps Serena attached to June, even though she swears it's friendship. It's not. It's guilt. So after this, we do get the moment where, and this to me was one of my favorite scenes, because Elizabeth Moss is that girl. Like, I love actors who can not just act with what they're saying, but just like they're nonverbal. What they do non-verbally is what I love. And that's what makes a great actor and actress to me, is what are you not saying, right? And how are you translating those feelings and emotions across the screen, and we get it, we see it. And I thought Elizabeth Moss did an absolute phenomenal job with this scene, right? So he's put her in a cage. He's pretty much talking to her. This is pretty much kind of like honestly, this entire episode, the end of the episode, definitely had biblical themes involved in the setup, from her being in prison to then her standing and confessing her sins and things like that. It was definitely some biblical themes in here, but the way that she's in the prison and he's talking to her, and he's giving his spiel about, um Serena, she's very hurt. Like, he's trying to make her feel bad and guilty. Of course, he's, telling her, you're gonna die, and so you should atone for your sins, and if you want to, you can, but so I'm gonna give you this opportunity of redemption. Pretty much just playing with her and using religion to justify his actions in killing June. Because I mean, she's escaped plenty of times. I feel like at this point it was kind of like, girl, it wasn't looking too good. So in this moment, that, like I was saying, what I really loved about how Elizabeth Moss portrayed was, you could tell that June was legitimately scared, but there was also something else that, like, we knew June knew about that he didn't know. And I just love how, like, that was portrayed in her face, in the dialogue that she said, to where as a viewer you are really thrown, like, okay, I feel like something is coming up because the way you just said that, but at the same time I genuinely know you're scared. And it is scary because you're the lead or the front face of a movement. Is scary, and it is not, it's a brave thing to do, and some things don't always go as planned, because what if he would have just killed her now instead of getting her an audience? Like, you never know. So I just love how she portrayed the complexity of what it might feel like to be a martyr. I just, it was absolutely beautiful. So we get moments where June, starts toying with him, and she's not sorry, even when he brings up Serena. But then she's like, okay, well, since I quoted the Bible to Lydia, let me try it on you and see if this will work. Even though I feel like she knew it wouldn't work. But she quotes on, God is love, and um he that dwelleth and loves dwelleth in God, to try to, and it was again used to help with Lydia. So she was like, let me just try it on you. But of course it didn't work, because again, we know that Wharton doesn't care. He's about power. He's about, and although God is love, like, she's a threat to the very thing he believes in. So he was not going to let her twist his beliefs. And so it doesn't work. And, she lets him know this is the beginning of the end, and does leaves without trying to make him feel like he has the upper hand, because he thinks he does. So I just, yeah, this scene was absolutely phenomenal. How she portrayed this, and why she Emmys, Emmy. I've said it. I said it like at least 10 times, both episodes. So because they rule or created this um city or system that's rooted in religion to help drive their agenda, they of course have ceremonies, big elaborate ceremonies that are supposed to be spiritual, in place but it's essentially a way to establish dominance and instill fear. And so they have this public execution event where everyone in Boston is supposed to watch all of these handmaidens and June get executed by hanging. So to be honest with you, the audience wasn't pleased, because you've taught, what they've done in Gilead is they've taught them that handmaidens are valuable. They're a gift from God, because again, we have to remember the fertility rate is still very low, and it's steadily climbing because of handmaidens. And around the world, these women can give birth, and that's what they've been selling to the rest of the world, on how valuable a handmaiden is. So for you to make a public display of handmaidens and execute them, and take away the very thing, one of the main reasons why you created this said society, it made people look sideways. It made people be like, wait a minute, what are we really doing here? Because you do have some people who, and then I mean, we can compare it to slavery, to be quite honest with you. We have people who actually really believe that you were doing this for a greater good. Somehow, because you use religion, you morally made them feel okay with this happening to women. Similarly to racism, slavery. I mean, Aunt Lydia was one of them, right? So to see you go against what you've been instilling, people were not happy, people were unsettled. And it was like, but it goes to show you how much Warden didn't care about people. And he only cared about himself and in self-interest and power, and this, not people not disrespecting him and making him look foolish. He didn't really care about the well-being or of women at all. Because yeah, like, if I'm creating a society where, okay, the intent is to keep the birth rate up, I'm not going to go and kill all of these women that have been a part of that, and I'm saying this is why we have the society the way it is. Yet people are going to question that. So we get all of the women, so they're standing on this big stage, and we have all of the women circling around, and June comes out last, and in the front, Lydia and her and the other aunt, who was actually Mayday, is standing there. And so Lydia, who we just surprisingly had seen last episode side with the handmaidens, she's there, and Warden allows her to speak to give her redemption, and she stands by it, which is another very shocking, very, very shocking line. Like, very, very shocking, because we've seen how Aunt Lydia has been throughout this entire season. So to see her character get to this point of finally acknowledging that, like, this is self-interest, this system is to be of the self-interest of men and not of the women, she stands on it, and she goes, precious girls, my precious girls have been prisoner of wicked, godless men. And they, of course, like, shut her down, snatch her away, and she still, in her last moments, decides to defy. And so after that, we get to finally see June, and he says, well, she asked, can she say her last repentance? And this is something that you might see in a Catholic culture, where people in their last word may say something like this. So that's where that's coming from. Y'all, this part right here, that's what I'm saying. Like, she is that girl. She is exactly who she says she is. Elizabeth Moss is that girl. Like, the approach to doing this speech was done so I'm trying to find the word to say, but it was complex, and it took you on a ride and roller coaster, because she set it up to seem like she was resourceful. She starts talking about her faith, and talking about, what she would like to be remembered as, and how to be a good, righteous person, so to say. And so you kind of feel like, oh man, is this June's last words, like, for real? But then it's like, her tone as she's talking, you start to feel the rage and the way that she's giving this speech shift. And while she's doing that, the camera shifts to Luke and other Mayday members. Oh, that's right, because the other Lydia was not there. She was next to Luke. But then we see Luke, and we're like, wait a minute. And we see the other captain in Mayday. You're like, oh, okay, wait, if this is going somewhere different. Like, the setup, and when the moment you see that is when she then changes her speech and changes the passion and how she's saying it to finally doing the call to action that sets the attack, which is, don't let these bastards grind you down. And as they pull the crane, because of course she had made them mad and they wanted to do it quickly because they knew that she was not mad, and called everyone to rise up and yell, and you then see them attack from within the crowd. And I mean, that was, I'm glad we got a scene of some type of action, because I would have been like, we did not watch this for, was it 6 seasons, for us not to get any movement in resistance. So we see Luke, he's shooting, we see them fighting up against them, setting the handmaidens free. He finally gets to June. He takes her off of the muse off of her neck. And but at this point, we don't really know what happens to most of the handmaidens because it's just pure chaos. So we no longer see Lydia, we no longer see Janine. We don't know where everyone is. We're just now focusing on Luke and June at this point, trying to make it out and survive. And I don't even know where Moira was. I think Moira was right there. Moira was right there. So all of them, Mayday invades, completely attacks from within, uses this as a moment, and they take over the city. They take over Boston, and they succeed. And American bombers fly in with Canada, and they win. This was their first invasion, and they actually succeed. And I love that we got to see that. I love we got to see this happen. So, because we waited too long. We waited too long. So, what was surprising about this whole thing was Nick was nowhere to be seen. He was out of Dodge. He was out of sight. But remember when we talked about in the last episode, the sedative that they had given everyone as guests at at Serena's wedding, it had made his wife very concerned for the baby because I think she started to have contractions. So she ended up in the hospital. So Nick was there with her in the hospital because they thought that she was about to, that induced labor. And so in this moment, they have this dialogue and conversation where Rose is pushing him, who Rose is the daughter of Warden. So we know she's she's got it in her. She got that dog in her. And Rose wants Nick to show his allegiance to Gilead and wants to leave and deal with June and be the end of it, because now they're about to have their new family and he just needs to let her go, because up to this point Rose has known that he has had a relationship and love for June. She knows this, but now she's like, no, you need to leave. You need to be who you need to become and be a commander and leave her alone and be done, because she's done something like this and threatened your own child. So in this moment we just get really nothing. I don't think Nick says anything in this scene. We just have him looking and staring. So at this point you do assume that he makes that decision. And I'm trying to get my little camera. Okay. So we see that, it feels like he is accepting that, and that's how he's going to be moving forward, especially given his last actions with sharing the information on the attack that was supposed to happen at Jezebel. So we finally get, after that whole situation happens, Serena is taken into custody, because she, I think, was at Lawrence's house, and she knows, or during the attack, Warden and some of the other commanders still got away, and they weren't able to get to all of them, because as soon as the attack happened, they got in the car and they left. Then they were planning on leaving the city. So, and I think they did leave, but they went somewhere else close by. So Serena, what we get is we get another moment where June is manipulating Serena to get information out of her. But I mean, Serena, in good fashion, is always playing the line, playing both sides. not really, um still struggling, having this internal battle between Gilead and feminism. I don't know, being a girl's girl in lamest terms. She's still struggling. She's doing this internal battle. So Serena finally, June, she won't budge, she won't tell, and she's like, that there's more to this situation. So she goes to talk to her, and Serena's upfront with her. And I think at this point June is has fully came to terms, or came to this point of, I'm no longer going to dim who I am, because in order to appease your pride, your ego. She's not doing it anymore. And so you can tell in this conversation, she was just straight up with her. And she goes, listen, Serena was happy to see her. Serena was like, oh my God, you're alive. Um, she really didn't have that much smoke for her doing what she did at her wedding, but June didn't really care. June was like, I have no regrets. And she's like, Serena, I need to know. I know you know more information. I know you know where they're going. We need to know. And June holds her to the fire and says, you say you want reform, you say you want change, but now when it's time to do it, you're still protecting those same men, those same people who violated me, who you say you want to help. You're protecting them. And you made the same mistake. I clocked it. And you want to look me in the face and tell me that I didn't tell you so, and you still want to be them? Like, you ain't changed for real. So that prompted Serena to actually tell the truth. But also, June knows that Serena's soft spot is motherhood, so she uses that as a strategy. One of June's superpowers is being able to mirror and know who she's speaking to and how to speak their language to get them to do what she wants them to do. That is June's strength, and it's worked in a lot of cases, and it worked in this situation with Serena. Um So she, tells her, like, your son, do you want your son to be influenced by someone like that? And this is the world you want to create for him. And that tends to um work on Serena, because she saw it firsthand how he just flipped the switch. So she finally tells them, like, that the Warrens, they're flying to DC because that's where they're going to go to come up with a plan on how to respond back to this attack. She knows that that's what they're going to do. He told her that earlier this morning, that he's going out on a trip, and Commander Lawrence also was supposed to go as well. So this is where things get very interesting. And yeah, like, one of the things I do appreciate about this show is they do give us justice. They give us some level of justice here. But this was in a very surprising way. So earlier on in the episode, we did have a scene where Serena was talking to Lawrence, and she was like, I'm worried about her safety, because at the end of the day, she did keep me safe, because Serena does have that sense of loyalty, which Serena is a loyal person, but she won't. That's what's holding their relationship and her loyalty, is because, yeah, June did save her life when she didn't need to, and her son's life. So Lawrence was just like, well, you better say a prayer for June, in his sarcasm. And Lawrence is also is asked to go to Washington. And so he really wants to try to convince them not to do a reign of terror, but reason and restraint. But of course, like we've known, they really don't care about him. They don't want to do it his way, because this is about control and power. Yes, they're capitalists, but very sloppy, macho way. They just want power and control. And so he does end up coming to where Mayday is to have a conversation with them, because again, we know that he knew his time at Gilead was going to be short-lived. He knew that they were going to kill him, replace him, get rid of him. because that's not the world that they wanted. Because when people are like that, you can't control that. Like, toxic masculinity cannot be bottled. It's going to manifest, it's going to explode. And he really thought that people would be more interested financially than being have toxic masculinity, and that was not the case. So with that, he comes to where Mayday is, and June tells them like, "Hey, I found out that they're all going to Washington. They'll be riding a plane. Maybe we can get a plane and we can put a bomb on the plane." And they're like, "Okay, cool. How do you think we should get on there?" They all look at Lawrence. Lawrence is like, "Wait, you want me to do what?" And he was like, "Yeah, just come there early." And I think in a way that they did it, I think in a way that they did it, it was in a way that they knew that Lawrence would volunteer to do it, because I think he said, because there was a reason why they couldn't shoot it down, because it's the airspace is restricted. Um, but I don't think they I don't think that they had asked him. I think he had volunteered to do it, but June volunteered to go with him and be his driver so that he's not away, so he can come he can leave early. He can go get on and leave, drop it off, because it would, if he happens to be caught, they would be like, "Oh, Lawrence, okay, yeah, it's you." But then he would leave, and so they come up with that plan and they move forward. Now, one of the things that we know, like, you can always tell when someone is on a time, like short time, like a timeline where they come to an end. And one of the conversations that really stood out to me was when he was telling Naomi and Angela essentially goodbye. And at this point, he didn't know what was going to happen. He was just putting them in a safe house because of all the attacks. And he made sure to tell Naomi, hey, make sure that, pretty much making sure that Angela is taken care of and is valued and her mind is valued, and really pushing Naomi to be like, "Hey, no, seriously, you know, this is not like how she's allowed to learn. She's allowed to be this beautiful, brilliant little girl," because he had created a bond with her. And from what we remember, he was not able to have children with his first wife. So he really had grown a connection with Angela and gotten protective over her. And he had also been seeing how Naomi, although she'd been begging for a child, would just toss her to the side and not give her grace or encourage her to learn or encourage her to be who she was. She was very like, "You need to be like this, shut up and listen," like very mindset. And so Lawrence, tells her, "Hey, no, like, make sure she's safe, make sure she's free to learn and grow and be the best she can be, like, do something," trying to wake up Naomi for the sake of the little girl, the one you wanted, right? So we had that conversation. When I saw that conversation, I said, "Uh-oh." Uh-oh. Because it just gave that, like, something about to happen, something about to go down. So fast forwarding to this, when we arrive on the airplane, June tells Lawrence, she kind of, is boosting him up. He goes to do it. He drops it off. But then, to their surprise, the Guardians come. They all come early. So June is hiding behind the car as he is, by the plane. He's like, "Oh yeah, I forgot what was his reason for being here. Let me see." Um, he gets there early. Let me see. So yeah, they ended up just coming early, and I forgot his reasoning, if you remember right in the comments, but I forgot his reasoning as to like, oh, you know what, this is why I came early. But they were like, oh yeah, you should ride with us. And he was like, oh, you want me to go? I didn't think you guys wanted me to go. Because there was some reason excuse he had for arriving early for the plane that didn't make them question it. And they were like, no, 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 you ride with us now because we're going to need all hands on deck here in DC. And so he decides he's still going to get on that plane because if he doesn't, the plan is not going to happen because he has the bomb in his briefcase. And he looks back at June. June is looking at him like, you don't have to do this, but in a way, yeah, you kind of do, because he got a lot of things he needs to atone for. So when he does it, or he takes his last look at June, and we know, oh my God, this is it. This is the final moment of Commander Lawrence, which we knew probably was the inevitable based on how he was. You know, he must pay for what he did. But just before the door closes, who do we see? Nick. Lord Jesus, heart stops. Because what do you do? Like, she did not expect Nick to be on that plane. And I don't think Nick was planned to be on that plane. But he doesn't. He's there. He is on the plane. And this, I felt like, and y'all can let me know, how did you guys think? Did you feel like Nick had like an idea, or knew like that he was kind of sacrificing himself in a way? Because in this moment, he's walking up the stairs. He pauses, and he looks over to where June is, as if he can feel and know that she's there. But he continues to get on the plane. Then when he gets on the plane and they talk, Lawrence is saying his last words and just essentially having a conversation where we know that, like, and I wish I had it written down, but we know that he's saying something, right? But it means something else to him and Nick, because he knows him and Nick know more about Mayday, know more about June, and almost telling Nick like something is about to happen. So Nick mentions, though, like, oh yeah, June did tell me to get all up, and Lawrence goes, yep, you really should have listened to her. And then it takes off and goes, and you just literally see June's face, just complete shock, distraught, numbness. But it was a decision that she had to make, because she had to think of the world her children were going to live in and other people were going to live in. And yeah, I want to know your thoughts. Did you think that Nick knew? I personally feel like he kind of knew, like he had a feeling, right? Not that he knew, but he had a feeling, because y'all, like, if we know, Nick was an informant for Mayday, so he was privy to their plan that they wanted to blow up. They wanted to attack these high commanders. They knew that Mayday wanted to have that. He knew that since Jezebel, that was their plan, to come at high commanders on this plane. Here all of y'all are. He pulls up. He is the eye. He is for security. Nick could have easily showed up, especially choosing Gilead, and said, hey, I don't think it's wise for us to travel together. Let's do separate planes, because their plan is to attack a bunch of commanders at once. This is based on my intel that I also gave from Jezebel. He could have said that, and he could have intervened and did something. And the fact that he did not, knowing that he knows and is privy to information, and even the conversation that he had prior to the bomb going off with June, told me to give this all up, and I didn't give it all up. He knew. And then for you to like pause and look, I feel like he had a feeling, because he definitely, like, Nick is not, he's smart. That's why they liked him and wanted to move him up, because he naturally had instinct and was observant and aware. And so I like it wasn't that he just was like oblivious. I personally feel like he had a feeling, and I feel like when his wife told him pick a side and get rid of her once and for all and all in, I feel like it was kind of his last. I feel like this was his way of being like, no, I don't want to do this. I don't want to be I be here because I think he genuinely loved June and his love for June, and I felt like maybe this was in a way him sacrificing himself because of the things that he had did and to hurt June, and that's really where his love was. And I mean, he hasn't chose his wife up to this point, so it's not surprising that he wouldn't choose her. Because I'm just sorry, I just don't think that Nick didn't have a clue, didn't know. Okay, y'all, maybe we all don't need to be traveling together. Like, you all are all targets. Y'all need to fly separately, like, or we need to come up with a more strategic plan to get you guys out. Not so obvious. He could have said that because that's how they've been moving. That's why Gilead has stood fortified, because they don't play. They think about things. They're proactive. They think about what you're going to do next, which is why they are a major threat to Mayday. Mayday is not that strategic. They're not even all soldiers. They're everyday people. So for that mindset, I'm sorry. Like, I feel like he knew, and I feel like he sacrificed himself. That's what I think. But y'all let me know. How do you agree? Do you disagree? How did you feel about that? But like I said, one of the things, this show is very good about giving us justice, because we got it justice with Serena's first husband, and we've gotten it justice with every guy who, for the most part, people who have been the villains, they have gotten some repercussions one way or another. And I feel like with Commander Lawrence, like, it's one of those things. Unfortunately, you did what you did. You have to pay for it. You have to do, like, you have to answer to your actions because you created this entire system. And at this point, there is nowhere else Commander Lawrence could really go. There wasn't. So it makes sense. So moving on to episode 10, we're going to try to move through this quickly, which episode 10 wasn't a whole lot going on as far as story, but cinematically, absolutely beautiful. Elizabeth Moss also directed this episode. She directed these last two episodes. But first, like, how did you guys feel about episode 9? Did you guys feel like it was good and not like good justice, good action? I definitely think it was. It's, again, this entire season was very much slower paced than what we're used to. But I think the little intent, like, we'll talk about it at the end a little bit more, but like, the attention to details is why I think it works well and why it's just so beautiful. So episode 10, we see that they did fully liberate Boston, because Boston was one of like the biggest hubs of Gilead. And so now you have everyone celebrating, trying to find and reconnect with family, trying to get the electricity back on, and figure out what are the next steps that they're going to do, and still attacking Gilead in their popular places so that they can destabilize them. And here we see June. It's a very slow motion, slow beginning. Here we really see June start to now reflect on what is next for her. And how does she move forward? Does she move forward in a way of forgetting about Hannah? Or does she go after her? Does she has her other daughter? Does she choose, like, this is now really June sitting and reflecting in that and what's next, because you've been waiting for this moment, right? So we do know that there will be a spinoff called The Testaments where it will be kicking off with Hannah, who is June's daughter. That because she's still under Commander Mackenzie, and who is now, we find out, is now serving as the new leader. So I think that would be very interesting perspective to see Hannah now being like the first daughter, and we get to see the perspective of how it is from a kid who has been indoctrinated into this society, what it looks like from that perspective. Because we've seen it from Handmaid, we've seen it from the Handmaids. Now we get to see it from the new up and coming generation who have grown up in this. So I think it's going to be really interesting, and there are going to be a few people who I think are going to return, and I think June might as well, just here and there pop in. So we have her have these flashbacks of Nick and him dying, and he's gone, and the commanders are also gone as well. We find out that Commander Mackenzie, who is Hannah's, where Hannah is now serving as the president. He's now in Washington, D.C. And so they now want to make a plan to go after him or go there and get Hannah. But, or no, Hannah was at first somewhere else, but they moved. So she's actually closer now to Boston than where she was, because now he is the leader. So, and they're also still trying to find out where Janine is, because again, where's Janine? I mean, poor girl. She be like, they lose her so many times. It's so sad, but they're trying to find out where is she, what's going on with her, what's happened. They don't know if she survived. They do know that she was taken, and so they're not really quite sure. After this situation, like I said, she was reflecting on Nick. She was also reflecting on Hannah, having flashback moments of her happy times with her when they went to, well, this really wasn't a happy time, but it was a time where they were at the fair, and Hannah, she had thought she had lost Hannah, and what that feeling was like. Comparing it to now, I think this really was showing and sharing how, where June is, where June tried to last season find a way to move forward. I think now, because she's done something that seemed impossible, and everything else has seemed impossible, with her finding Luke, with her finding Moira. Then we find out that what's her name? Holly. Is it Holly? Oh, that ain't her name. Hold on, what's her name? What is her name? It was such a great surprise to have her. Emily comes back. Woo! Which, it was like, great. I'm so glad we got to see her come back, because she just like left. Like, and it was to be assumed that she was killed, because I think there was an attack or something, and they thought she had not made it. But I think I think the actress herself was filming Gilmore Girls, and that's why she couldn't come back. Because but she came back. But up to this point, everything that she didn't think was possible was possible. You reunited with your mom, Luke, Moira. You know, Janine did survive. Aunt Lydia, you finally got through to Aunt Lydia. You survived a revolt. All of these things you didn't think would happen have happened. So now it feels like what the distant dream was could actually be a reality, and that is that she could potentially get Hannah back. So she's really starting to think about that, and think about how, what are her next steps, and if she should really commit to that, because the last time she did it, it was ripped away from her multiple times, where she was right there with Hannah and she was snatched away, and that was a lot. That's very traumatic. So going to that place of hope, it takes a lot of bravery, for sure. So so Hannah was in Colorado. She's now moving to DC because he's now in charge. Okay. Aunt Lydia, someone was saying they did spot Aunt Lydia. She is alive. She did make it. of course. That's A Cat with Nine Lives. Um, I think in this moment she does get an update from the Canadian agent, and I think he really gave good advice here because he did know like her. He knew that she had been through a lot, and he could tell it was kind of like, okay, now what? Like, I'm happy, but now what? And he pretty much tells her like, listen, even if you don't see Hannah or not, you still should want to create a better world for her. You still should want to do something because what you just did today is going to impact her and impact other people's lives because you're liberating people and you're showing her, that she doesn't have to be in this life. And I thought that was good because yes, when June explores this journey of trying to get Hannah back, you do have to also be okay with the fact that you may never get her. You can fight for her, but you have to also accept that too. And that can very much be a possibility in reality, or that Hannah doesn't want to go. Hannah is too gone and too much rooted in the system that she doesn't want to come back because she's been brainwashed. So there's some hard truths that they have to accept when they decide to go on this journey of finding Hannah and going to get her back. So we finally get a moment, one of the last moments with Serena and June. And what I really love is like every last conversation each character had, it made sense. The right lines were said. It wasn't overkill. It felt natural. It felt like, yeah, you should be saying this to that person. Um, and this was one of those great moments because the lady who plays Serena, phenomenal actress. Like, you have to give her credit. She has played Serena. I mean, Serena's character arc, I think, is by far the best in the entire series, along with Aunt Lydia's. But she has the best one. I mean, for Serena to end up here and in this space to question, like to actually accept the reality of like who she is, I think was absolutely beautiful done. So we have this conversation where Serena's like, well, I helped Boston fall twice now, which y'all remind me of the first time. Wasn't it when there was a first revolt with the plane? I don't remember, but if y'all remember, write it in the comments. So she's definitely conflicted in her part and her role. And she also tries to confront or comfort June because Nick is gone. She gives her condolences and she says, well, June, if he would have had a choice, he would have chose you. And I do feel like he did choose her in a way. That's just my personal opinion. I do feel like he did kind of choose her because I think he had a feeling because we talked about it, but and that does bring some peace and ease to June as she's officially closing that chapter. So Serena's also stuck in this position of, well, I can't go back. I can't go back to Canada. I'm nobody. I don't know what to do now because up to this point, like, we know Serena is the person that loves to have authority. She likes to um have power and have a platform. That's what she centered herself around, is to be that person to push and to she's be that sidekick and push for other people against her best self-interest. So what I thought June tells her, I thought was really good here, and it really settles Serena because again, June knows how to talk to her as a mother. And so she says, you are someone, just be a mom. And that's the very best thing you can be. And that puts things in perspective for Serena, right? Because it's like being a mom is important. It does matter. You are shaping a child's world. You are instilling in them positive things that you would hope they grow up and be a better person, you are putting them, I want to say like a platform, but you're uplifting them. You're doing these things that you did for men. You can do this for your child and that still matter and have meaning. It doesn't have to be that you need a man. You can do this for your son, which he is a man, ironically, but he's a little boy. But that changes that perspective. I think really shifted things in Serena's mind to stop being so like eager to want to be have a stage and have a platform and you know have to have a man. And so I really thought that was really good and very interesting. So Serena, she's off. She goes to the refugee camp and she actually gives June a sincere apology. I'm gonna tell you, she actually gives her a genuine apology. It wasn't no ifs, ands, or buts. It was I'm sincerely apology and you were right and this was wrong and I know you will never forgive me, but what I did to you was wrong. And June actually accepts it. June says, I accept your apology. And that I think was a very good way of ending that June Serena relationship. And with closure. She got closure. Both of them got the closure that they needed. Because a lot of times people don't get to get an apology from their abusers. And she was able to get that, right? And so then it's now about how do I move on and move forward and live a better life and not hold on to this. Because she did try to make an atonement to a certain degree. She tried to do better. She tried to make it, you know, Serena has definitely helped them in try to make an atone for her action. So why not give her that? And so yeah, I think so yeah, I think that that was a very good way that they had ended the journey between June and Serena and giving them closure. So the I'm just making sure I'm going over my notes. Oh, Straskowski, Tello. I don't know how to pronounce his name, but he's definitely been an ally and supporter of the movement in space. And so what I thought this was very cute and very funny. She was like, "Oh, so because he hears her because he has this infatuation still with Serena, but he has very much chosen that this is more important, and I can't ignore what you've done." So he allows space to happen. He allows for her to grow, Serena to grow, if that happens. But he's enforced his boundary for sure because you can tell he's definitely interested in Serena. He said, I'm gonna find you, so it leaves it very open to see if he would like to cross that path. But right now he's focused on freeing these people. So I do like how they've put that separation or left it open because we don't really know. But she was like, so what are you now? Like, did you get a promotion? Like, whatever. And he's like, I'm now commander. And I thought that was really funny. But also, it is it does show you what a commander is supposed to be and how Gilead has tainted and villainized who commanders are. Commanders are supposed to be brave. They're supposed to be loyal. They're supposed to be rescue, have integrity, have honor, protect communities, protect, and not protect themselves and hurt and harm you. You want me to call you commander because of superiority. Like he is the definition of what a real commander should be. So I did like that. It was a little cheeky, but I did really like it in this part. So then we finally get to see Emily comes back. June was just walking in the street or whatever, and Emily comes back. And it was like, oh my God, you back. Which I thought this was really good because she needed a conclusion as well. Like, because we really didn't get one in how she left. So she has this conversation with her. She checks in to see like what's been going on, where you happening. So in this is where we get dialogue where you kind of catch up because we didn't get to see what happened to her. So she pretty much says that because she did go back in to go and continue to fight, and she was in the Richport Rebellion. She ended up being a Martha, and then they ended up revolting and overthrowing. She's also still very much connected to her son. So they talk about that as well. And so it was a really nice catch up. She also has this conversation where she is toying with the idea of going back to get Hannah because, again, June knows that, like, it's not really made necessarily possible. But then as they walk, they see this very beautiful image of this graffiti wall that says, "My name is," because as you know, in Gilead, you're given the name of the commander's last name and your name is taken away from you. And so it was a way that people had reclaimed their identity, but also like graffiti itself, the art form is a form of resistance. And that's what the whole point of graffiti is. So I thought that was a really nice touch and it was beautifully shot. I mean, the cinematography was amazing. So when she saw that, it kind of like it resonated with her. And it pushed her more into knowing that I have to go get Hannah because she don't even know her name. She probably even know her name is Hannah at this point. So then we see June's dream. What does her perfect world look like? Of freedom, of having everyone around her that she loves. And here we see her with all of the handmaiden ladies singing, laughing, some from the past, some for the present. So Moira, Emily, Janine was there, but Janine didn't have one eye. Janine had both eyes. So she was imagining what freedom and liberation really truly felt like. And of course, the best way of freedom when you don't really care about the world is when you do karaoke. Like, she's a girl. We love karaoke. So I thought that was a really nice touch to see the world that June wanted to see and what freedom really looked like, where you just had no care in the world and you were just singing badly at karaoke. I also really liked how a lot of the imagery of showing how it was dark and lightness, and how even when they got the power back on, she sees the light come off in the corner and then you see it one by one popping on as she's walking through it. So we're bringing lightness. Light is trumping darkness, and you're actually seeing it, but they did it by liberating Boston and what they plan to do even more in the future. So I really like that. Excuse me. Sorry y'all. Ooh, sorry y'all. So she has those moments and she's talking about it, she does finally go to sleep after they get the power back on. She goes to sleep, and she's woken up by the soldiers like, "Come on, you need to go now, it's important." So you're like, "Oh Jesus, what's going on?" Because it does seem like this show don't always like good happy endings. And because I'm like, this is good to be true. This is happiness. This show can be dark. But when she wakes up, they get to an outdoor alley. I cannot pronounce his name, from Canada, is there, and he's like, "No, there's something important that I want you to see." When he comes, we see two cars from Gilead pull up. All of our hearts drop, like, what's about to go down? Oh my God. But as soon as they stop, the car stops, opens the door, we finally get Janine. Oh, that poor girl. Thank you, Jesus. Y'all, Janine made it. Thank you. Janine made it. Janine, she's a little torn up, but she's there. She's alive. Oh my God. I'm so happy because, again, Janine has not caught a break at all. Lord, that girl has been through. So it was just so like relieving that she got to finally get out and and escape because my God. So that was really happy. But then we also see young Lydia come out. We like, oh Lord, here she go. And then Naomi. So we were like, hold on. When did this happen? And this was the only hole that I wish they would have buttoned up a little bit better because I did want to know, how did Janine end up with Naomi and Aunt Lydia? Was it a thing of Aunt Lydia got Janine, like saw her, got Janine, and then they went with Naomi to the hideaway house? And then what made Naomi say, I'm going to bring back Janine to be free from Gilead? Like, I really want to know what the conversation was. And I feel like that should have been included. That was my only negative thing that I would have to say is we needed to know context as to how she got back. I feel like we deserve that much. Because then Naomi decides to give Janine back Angela. And so now Angela and Janine are finally in Canada, or free Boston, liberated Boston, and are out of Gilead. And Janine does get everything that she wanted, which was her daughter and to be free. And I'm just so happy for her because she deserved it so bad. Oh my God, she deserved it so bad. I was so happy for her. But I would have loved to see that. Like, I would have loved to see what was that conversation like. And I do know that what Lawrence said to Naomi had influenced her, of course. But like, Naomi has been so stern and set in her ways since season 1. I really want to know what was said that made her be like, you know what? Here, take the child. That was it for me, you know? I really wish we would have gotten that conversation. But I'm happy she was back. Then we also get the next day where June, they're waiting for family members to come and visit them in Boston. And here we have her mom and her baby are back and arriving. So they're happy to see how their child is. Then we get this really good conversation with her child where she talks about, you know, she's pretty much decided that she can't stop fighting. She's chosen to continue this fight, to attempt to find Hannah, but liberate people on the way in case she can't get to Hannah, right? And so she's giving her this speech. She's talking to her daughter, explaining to her why it's important. And she knows that her mom is listening to her. She knows. But so it was really a conversation for her and her mom about why it was important for her to not let go and just settle and disappear and go away. Because for those who've read the book, that's essentially what June does. June just kind of disappears and we don't know or hear from her. She just kind of goes away. Well, in the show, this is where June says she's really ready to fight. You know, she's not giving up. She's not going and hiding, doing the complete opposite of what happened in the book. So, once she has that conversation, she's talking with her daughter, tells her like, you're gonna have to be with your grandmother a lot longer. She does go to her mom, and you know, they have a really touching mother-daughter moment. And I love that they were able to heal. So it gives you hope that her and Hannah could heal. And her mom understands. And also her mom is the first to encourage her, like, you need to write this down. Like, you need to share your story. I think this was a way of connecting the book to the show and how we got the book, because the book is written in first person. So, you know, she's kind of like, I don't know. But honestly, if you're talking about liberation, you do need to write a book because you do need to tell people what they need to do. And it's marked in history so no one can change what really happened because you lived it. And it's just your experience and people can't take that away. So years to come, even if you can't see Hannah, and that's the unfortunate thing, right? But that's what her mom tells her. Even if you can't see Hannah, Hannah knows your story. Hannah can't deny you went through this, and no other girl can deny you went through this because you're telling us what happened. You're marking it in history. You're marking what you did in history. And that's important and a part of the fight for liberation and freedom. So June hears her. She's like still very apprehensive about it. And we finally get that last June. and Luke moment, which I found very interesting because as we've been seeing, at least for the last 2 seasons, how June and Luke have definitely changed and evolved as different people. And people were still like, you didn't know if they really loved each other like that, or just because of what happened, they had this sense of loyalty to each other, but was it romantic? And I felt like this conversation just showed a very beautiful arc of their relationship in how, whether it's romantic or not, their loyalty will, nothing is breaking them up, right? Even if it's not, if it's platonic or if it's war, war, they're not breaking up. So they have a very beautiful conversation that felt authentic about, what do you want to do? And he wants to go and help with the war and do these things, and she wants to go find Hannah. And it kind of suggested at first that they were separate, going separate ways. But just like that, which I thought was just so nicely done and spoke to their dynamic, he was like, I'll see you there. Like, I'll see you there. I'm not leaving you. We're going to do this together because we made this commitment and we're loyal to one another and we're going to show up for one another. So I really just I like that. And I do like that it is a bit gray area because she's been through a lot. Like, we're not, okay, romance is great, but we have bigger fish to fry. So whether it is or whether it's not, it's okay. Because they still have, I think that's what unconditional love is supposed to be like. And they did that. Like, he's a good man, Savannah. He's a good man. Luke is definitely the best man on the show. Like, by far. He's showing you that there are good men out there. So we have that very beautiful moment that felt right. Serena has accepted and found her purpose at the refugee camp where she's embracing her son. And they had like this little joke with the Red Sox onesie. She didn't want it. She was like, oh, what did she say? I think she said like, oh, this is a sign. June said this about the onesie because Red Sox fans, they like to throw jokes and stuff about winning. I guess they don't. I don't know. But Serena kids back like, oh, signs are witchcraft or something like that, throwing jabs at the Red Sox. But then in the refugee camp, they didn't have any clothes or anything for her son, so June ended up putting that onesie in the bag, and she was like, oh wow, I needed this, so this actually worked out. Oh well, And so you just finally see Serena find peace and acceptance of how she's going to show up in this world and her responsibility and her feeling important and valued within her own self than with a male-centered, and her being proud to being a mom. So we have that moment that I thought was beautiful, and and it showed how like the power of motherhood, but also it represents consequences and choices too, because you're responsible for this person, and how you raise them, there will be consequences to it, but also just accepting the strength that comes with it and not seeing it as less than. And so I thought that was really nice. So we finally end the season where June goes back to where it all started. She goes back to the house of her first time being in Boston. And so she walks in and is reliving those moments of her time being as a handmaiden. We do see some very similar camera shots of her arriving of season 1 when she arrived to now, and how she entered in the house, and how she was in her room on the window, just to give us that familiarity of where she used to be. But what I thought was very interesting was it was a room that once was isolated, dark, now literally has the roof broken open with light beaming in to really show that like she broke free and represented like she's no longer caged in this dark space or room. And so I really just love that imagery. And I thought that was a very nice touch. So she goes in, she walks and she sits and she meditates and dreams of Hannah, and it was truly a full circle moment. And she you know, and I think after her conversation with Luke, because I did forget to mention, Luke said like, you need to write this down, you have a story. So that was the second person who told her. So she's finally like, all right, I'm gonna do it, because if I'm gonna fight, people need to know my story. And so that's one of the reasons why she went back to the house, to set herself back and tell her story, even though it's hurtful and a lot of pain, but it's the truth about what happened. And it's important because they're over here trying to spin it to the rest of the world to try to be like Gilead. But if I actually hear a story that is unfiltered, I can't ignore that it impacted people in that way. So she's sitting there. Like I said, the roof is open, so it's no longer a cage, but a place that she's choosing to take power and control over her story and over it and what happened to her. And she then starts to record the lines from the book about her story as a handmaiden, and starts off and says the same lines as we got at the beginning of the series, with her name saying, my name is Alfred, and gives that first line. And then it ends. And that is the Handmaiden Tales. Handmaid Tales. I don't know why I call it Handmaiden Tales. That is the Handmaid Tales. It's so bittersweet. It's so bittersweet. It was this, I think, by far is the best TV drama series that we've had in recent years. I just hate that it took so long to come out. But I mean, phenomenal job. I mean, Elizabeth Moss is that girl. Like, I don't know how many times I can say that enough. Everybody on the entire acting like show acted down. Like, this was an amazing story. It was a very heavy story, but they ate this. They did that. So I'm actually looking forward to the spinoff. At first, I really wasn't, but now I feel like I need to see it through. Hopefully, we do get a real conclusion. But with given these last two episodes, I felt like this was a really good conclusion, and I was very skeptical, but they did a great job, like they've always done, because their writing and storytelling is top of the line. So I hope Elizabeth Moss, I think she is included in the project, just not in the front of the screen, but also behind the screen, because I can always tell when she's behind that camera. She's gonna give you the close-up shots. She's gonna give you emotions. Like, she's gonna let the camera just rest and sit on you. I love her. Like, she's great. She's absolutely great. But yeah, it's over, y'all. It's been a great ride with Handmaid Tales series. Y'all let me know, what did you guys think of the last episode? And yeah, we'll be back with more TV recaps. We'll probably end up covering Real Housewives of Miami, because my girl's not getting the love. What's going on with that? Like, honestly, everybody should be tuning in to Real Housewives of Miami. You're missing out. So we'll probably come back next week and recap that as well. We might do Ironheart, maybe, we'll see, but for sure we'll be back with Real Housewives of Miami next week. Also, follow me over on TikTok and Instagram at the Lions Den Podcast, or at Lauren.Ashley. We do constant recaps on Love Island, and we're following that with short clips from the show that are really fun to talk about. So you definitely don't want to miss that as well. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And yeah, thank you guys for sitting in listening to me yap for an hour about this show. Very, late, because it's been over for like a couple weeks, but it's fine. But all right. Thank you guys for watching, and you all have a good night. Bye.